Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Lackawanna City Council, November 18th, 2024 meeting caucus. Caucus will usually start around 6:30. It is now 6:30. At the caucus, it's the council's opportunity to review and discuss amongst ourselves publicly the individual agenda items. Right after the caucus ends, we usually move directly into our regular meeting, and that is where the votes usually take place. During the regular meeting, not during the caucus, we have a sign-up sheet for anybody who wishes to address the council. Normally, there's a time limit of 3 minutes, although we don't usually observe that. But I would ask that if you're going to speak, that you give your full name and address when you do come to the podium to address the council. We'll hear from the public at that time. And I would also caution or remind everyone that these meetings are recorded, so you can conduct yourselves accordingly. To that end, the first several items up until item number 4 under departmental reports are administrative, so we don't usually discuss those. We'll move directly to the communications from the mayor. Item number 5 on the agenda is a request from Mayor Iafallo that City Council approve a resolution requesting the governor increase the 25-26 adopted state budget for additional state aid. Any council members have any comments on agenda item number 5? Either Director Clark or a city attorney gone, is there anything from the mayor that you need to call to our attention on that?
I'll just state that this is regular protocol, and it's the local municipality requesting additional funds from New York State.
My comments would have been the same.
Thank you. Any council member have any comments on item number 5? Moving on to item number 6. Communication from Mayor Iafallo, request City Council approve request to name the Lehigh soccer field at Lehigh Playground in honor of Abdusalam K. Noman. Mr. Noman has been a successful coach, civic leader, driving force in the development and growth of the Lackawanna Yemen Soccer Club. He's also been a member of this city council. He's been a soccer coach for as long as I can remember, and he does a very fine job in not only instructing these young men from our community in the sport of soccer, but it helps them with lifelong decision-making and formation of their adulthood and decision-making capabilities. A well-deserved and well-earned, in my opinion, achievement. Any council members have any comments on item number 6?
I would also like to add to what you already prefaced this agenda type topic with. First, I'd like to thank Mayor Iafallo for bringing us to this point to recognize a lifelong pillar in the community, both at the city level. He's been a pillar at the schools for 30 odd years, and even before that, he was training and teaching and coaching young men in the community, as well as some of the females as well. Many volunteers have come through the doors. He's allowed us to use the space for mentoring girls at the soccer club facilities and included them in many field trips that he has personally driven them to. So he's been a driving force in the community, a trailblazer. He's been very, very instrumental in mentoring, and a lot of his players and kids that he mentored are now fathers, grandfathers, and now are passing the baton on to their next generations in soccer and in other sports. So I appreciate the attention that Mayor Iafallo has brought to this particular renaming of the field. I appreciate the service that he has brought to the community. Director of Development has been very instrumental in this as well. There's been a lot of improvements to the soccer field through funding, through Assemblymember John Rivera's office. And prior to that, there was plenty of funding through when Sean Ryan was the representative of the district. So there's a long line of thank yous that I would like to address. I definitely appreciate this, and I hope that you all, that this topic has the support of all of you as my colleagues.
And he also brought a number of championships.
He has,
Absolutely,
yep. I've gone to many of the games out of the, not out of state, obviously, but out of the city, and I have very fond memories of going to the soccer field as a child to watch my brothers play, so this is very sentimental to me today.
Very good, thank you. Anyone else on that topic? If not, moving on to communications from department heads, from the city attorney. You request city council approve following proposed ordinances. Grace and I, city clerk, put these together instead of taking them individually, since some of them are related in nature and we can vote on them in a block as opposed to individually, unless of course you wish to be heard on and voting on them individually. City Attorney Gahn, you want to talk about item 7.1, 7.2?
Sure. So these are two proposed amendments to the current animal code in the city code. One is to basically 7.1A is to add language where not only is people responsible for where the dog is licensed, but they're also responsible for the dog that is being harbored. We've had certain cases come before the city where dogs are licensed outside of Lackawanna, but they're being harbored inside of Lackawanna. And we just want the ordinance to be able to, or the proposal is in order that animal control or the police have the ability to enforce not only dogs that are licensed in Lackawanna, but dogs that are being harbored in Lackawanna and licensed outside of Lackawanna. 7.2 is literally redefining what the animal control officer or police officer would look at in deciding whether a dog is a nuisance to neighbors or the neighborhood. And it defines the certain categories of what the law enforcement officer should look at in analyzing whether that animal is a nuisance. Previously, or the current city code does not have those parameters, and the ordinance that's being proposed in 7.2 would add those criteria to the code. Any questions in relation to those two?
If not, what, you want to move on to the next set of
Sure.
legislation?
So the next set, and Foreman Gherkin can also comment if he wants. It's amending the ordinance in which when the city uses and conducts property maintenance of certain properties in the city of Lackawanna, certain fees have to be charged in relation to using the city's equipment and the expense that's incurred by using that equipment to do the property maintenance. And these fees are bringing up the fees to current standards. Foreman Gherkin, anything to add there?
No, that's it. It's just updating the cost.
Are there any questions from the council?
Yeah. Go ahead.
May, no, these fees, say the people aren't there and the house is abandoned, these would be like put on a lien on their property?
That's exactly right. So what happens is the expense is incurred, notice goes to the registered property owner that the city has the last known contact. Let's say that individual has dementia or passed with no heirs. What happens is then those accumulated fees, according to the city code, become part of the tax lien on the property. Then what happens is if nobody pays their taxes, then Erie County or the city of Lackawanna forecloses on said property. Any equity in that property goes back to the last registered owner, and the taxes ended up being paid to the city.
Okay, thank you.
Anyone else have any other questions? And John, just so we're clear,
No, 7.3 deals with chapter 135. The chapter 12 will deal with 7.4, 5, 6, and 7.7. In the proposed amendment to chapter 12 deals with the disposition of city-owned property, where it basically lays out how the assessor's office works with the director of development, and they come together with valuation and how the property should be used, or if it's going to be developed, or if there's plans for someone to use that property, then ultimately it comes before the council in order for the council to decide whether that property should be sold or not sold. And that literally is for 7.4, 5, 6, and 7, all different provisions and sub-provisions of chapter 12.
Any council members have any questions on the latter part of John's presentation?
I do regarding to the ordinance of chapter 12, right? That's what we're referring to, the city-owned property?
Yes.
Okay, so the ordinance as written, if we adopt it today, it would be in effect as written today, correct? No amendments unless we motion to amend any of it?
Correct.
Okay, I only have an issue with the ordinance, letter H, upon receipt by the council of the offer to purchase with the director of development's recommendation. The council may, and then it lists 3 things that we can do as a council, whether it be us or our successors in the future. The word with kind of gives me the impression that no sale can be done without the director of development's recommendation. Although all of us here understand today that we, as a unit, all 3 departments, assessor's office, director of development, and the council can work together in tandem to approve this. We also know as a council, we don't need the recommendation of the director of development, and that has nothing to do with the bearings of it being you, Chuck Clark, today, or another director of development in the future. So that, I just want to be clear that our successors also understand that there's no need for the recommendation. For
I disagree.
sale.
I think it's absolutely necessary to have the input of the city assessor and director of development so that we know that what could possibly be the most appropriate use for that property. So to bypass director of development when that falls into that director's jurisdiction as well as the city assessor, we wouldn't necessarily take it upon ourselves by motion or otherwise, if a private individual from the community or outside the community wishes to put in a bid on a particular piece of property, the normal course of procedure would be to refer it for opinion to the assessor as well as director of development. And I think that's of vital importance. That doesn't mean we can't entertain the offer if, let's say, director of development doesn't opine or doesn't have an opinion on it. It doesn't preclude us from trying to move forward, if I understand this language correctly.
So you do, in that's why those words that Councilwoman brought to everybody's attention in subsection G of the same chapter in same subsection -7, it lays out the process. So even in H, it's just saying, it's kind of dovetailing off of G, where the director of development is giving a recommendation. Council doesn't have to follow the recommendation. Council can act on its own, whether it wants to sell the property, just receive and file the offer, or what it says, authorize and direct the director of development. So I think your reading is spot on. On the other hand, I do see where ambiguity, if none of us are here in 10 years, somebody may read that as, hey, they need the director of development's recommendation in order to act.
But
And
doesn't
that
the
is
city
not the
charter-
case.
Doesn't the city, I don't mean to interrupt you, John, but doesn't the city charter outline the jurisdiction of the sale of property as being strictly with the city council?
Correct.
Okay.
It does.
So both this particular piece of legislation, although it might, and thank you for pointing that out, Amira, it might be better worded. I think ultimately the confusion is resolved if somebody takes the time to read the charter and applies the language of this amendment in its entirety to whatever application is being entertained at the time.
I actually wrote the amendment, so I'm going to say yes, you are correct.
Well,
But
That's a good bias.
I understand it, and I understand the goal, which you brought up in the beginning, which is the actual goal. It is not affording the assessor's office the ability to to accept an offer or ignore an offer.
Right.
It is a process of assessor can take in an offer, then give it to the director of development. Director of development can then go and see if DPW needs the property, or, the assessor should do this due diligence, but it's checking off to make sure that the property, the subject property, is not being used or being planned for something else. And then after the assessor works with the director of development comes to the council and says, hey, council, we have this offer for this parcel. It's before you now. I recommend that you consider the sale of the property, or I recommend you don't sell this property because we're going to use it for ABC.
And Mr. Council President, that whether it's me in this chair or whoever sits here in the future, you're doing that against the city's comprehensive plan, which defines land use. You're doing that against the knowledge of grants or other funding for programs that are coming in. So the recommendations are not arbitrary in any way. Whoever sits in the development chair is the one who knows the comprehensive plan, the one who's in the middle of all of the different grants and money access points. So that person would be in the best position, with all due respect to everybody else, to be able to guide whoever is sitting in these chairs years from now, how that land is best used in relation to those points.
And then in the absence of the director of development would be the
The
mayor
mayor.
according to this
It's the mayor.
ordinance. And I'm all for checks and balances. I love a beautiful system that makes it easier and makes sure that no one is overzealous in any fashion. It's just that I don't want to ever have our successors be bound to this language, but I do also understand that the city charter sets precedence over this in the event of the approval of sales. Okay.
I think this is a welcome change because this procedure has never been documented before, and as you may have experienced yourself, someone comes forward and they go to this office, that office, the other office, and then the application gets lost.
Right.
And there's no action taken. This will help prevent that, and it's a more of a well-informed decision process, I think, when everybody's involved.
Very good.
Anyone else?
Yeah,
Go
if I may. It happened 2 meetings ago. Our director, in his literature that he submitted to us, recommended that the land wasn't supposed to be on for sale on South Park, but the city council overruled that recommendation. So I could see that this is a good way for checks and balances. Yeah. So.
Yeah, thanks for pointing that out. Anyone else? And John and Chuck, thank you very much for helping out on that. Moving on to item number 8 of the agenda. From our assistant controller, request City Council approve standard workday reporting resolution for elected and appointed officials for the assistant city attorney, Jeffrey Marion. I think this is just a piggyback on what we did generally to include Jeff's position in this reporting mechanism.
It is.
And does anyone have any questions? Okay, moving on to item number 9. Again, from our assistant controller, request City Council approve the ordinance adding a new revenue code for state aid. And the police chief's request to add funds to the police department overtime budget code. John, you have anything you want to add on that?
The only thing I'll add for clarity's sake is that the actual ordinance, aid is coming in reimbursing the city for overtime. So then, at the request of the police department, they're asking that that money go back to the police for additional overtime. And I just want to make sure everybody understands that that is what is being asked.
Any,
Yeah, what now? This money's for overtime that came in, the 47,000?
It is. It
It
was,
says it's for, gun-involved violence elimination. So what does that got to do with overtime? I was just wondering, does this money have to go to the police overtime?
well, the chief is requesting that it be allocated to overtime.
No, I see.
This is a $47,000 amount of money that the city received for reimbursement of whatever, and the chief is just asking that it be used for overtime.
I thought it was for New York gun-involved violence.
That's what it was
elimination.
received from, wasn't it?
it was received from there, but I don't know the actual reason why the money came from that entity.
And rather than have it directed to the police general fund, general account, it'll go into the overtime account, which is usually exceeded regardless because of overtime issues. So I thought maybe it might be a good use for that money. I don't know.
I'd like to buy something with it. That's what I'd like to do. All right, go
I think we
ahead.
need to be a little bit more frugal. But anyway, anyone else have any questions on that? City Council? John, anything else you want to add on it then?
Nothing. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Item number 10 from Director of Development and Marketing, request City Council approve resolution to enact the rezoning of each of the properties located at South Park, Electric, and Myrtle Avenues. Action was taken October 21st, 24, City Council meeting to commence the rezoning procedure. Chuck, briefly, you want to tell us what that's in
Yes.
relationship to?
Yes, so in 2001, the city redid its zoning ordinances to include a designation called open space. Open space, by its definition, is green space that was not to be developed. It was done in response to then New York State Governor Pataki's edict to municipalities to increase the amount of green space and open space that was in their municipality. There were 4 parcels in question, 3365 South Park, 1864 Electric Avenue, and 2 unaddressed parcels on Electric Avenue in Myrtle that were designated as open space. And it's problematic for 2 reasons. One is because on 2 of the 4 parcels, there was either a home or an existing shuttered business that predated the zoning ordinance and change in 2001, and then the other 2, while there was no development, the bigger issue is that the city's comprehensive plan for those areas call for a different zoning than open space in those designated areas. The problem for the homeowner is that it prevented open space cannot be developed by definition, so it prevented any sale, any development, any redevelopment of those lands. So all we're looking to do is correct what is deemed to be an inappropriate designation of open space on those parcels to allow the homeowners to have property consistent with the comprehensive plan. The one point I do make about these parcels is that they run along a corridor of a long decommissioned rail line. Over the last 2 years, the city spent money out of the EPA Brownfield grant to do phase 1 environmental reporting on these properties. Because of its proximity and time frame that the railroad ran, the likelihood of some form of soil contamination there is high. So the caveat of rezoning these properties is that any future development, redevelopment, and or sale of those parcels be with the understanding that if there was any redevelopment of the properties, that the phase 2 environmental, which is the detailed soil and water sampling required to define what contamination, if any, is on those sites, would be required by the planning board and the responsibility of the current owner or future owner.
Thank you. Any council members have any questions or comments on this agenda item? And Chuck, this would allow possible development or new homes to go in those areas, should the owner.
Yes, so in three of the parcel blocks, we're talking about moving the zoning from open space to mixed residential. And in the in the block that's facing South Park, which is in the area of like Apollo Restaurant and all of that, that is actually actively being marketed as commercial redevelopment. So it would allow for redevelopment appropriate to the zoning areas. And we did have a public hearing on this. All of the property owners have been spoken to, understand what's happening here, and are in favor of the change.
Great, thank you. Any council members have any comments? If not, moving on to communications from citizens, Art Petrika, attorney, requests the Commissioner of Deeds for Shannon Sposito, which we can take up at the appropriate time. With that said, that is our agenda. We will move into table items or any additional items at the end of the meeting. I would formally call the November 18, 2024 meeting to order. Pledge allegiance, I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. And ask the city clerk to take the roll.
Maflahe? Present. Anderson? Mr. Moretti was excused. Sirdike?
Present.
Morano?
Here.
Law Department?
Here.
Development and Marketing?
Here.
Public Works?
Here.
Public Safety?
Here.
Recreation?
Here.
And the Assistant Comptroller was excused.
Thank you. Hearings from citizens. Generally, for those people wishing to address the council, the comments to the city council at a city council meeting are usually restricted and regulated as far as the agenda items. So in other words, if you wanted to speak on anything other than an agenda item, normally you wouldn't be able to do that. But I see that there is a huge interest on the Airbnb issue this evening, so without any objection, we'll hear from the individuals. And again, I would ask that you state your full name and your address and speak loud enough so that we can hear. The first name is Steve Grady. You want to come forward and stand at the podium and tell us what's on your mind.
My name is Steve Grady. Address is 856 Ridge Road. My wife, Patrick Freeman, and I own the house there on Ridge. We've been providing short-term rental apartments and are just starting our 9th year in it. We own a blue house on Ridge Road at Reed Avenue between the Christmas shop and the old LP parking lot. Since starting, we've had over 2,600 guests in our home in the Lackawanna. These people come from all over the world for vacations, business, visiting friends or family down the street. All these people spend their time and money in Lackawanna and nearby parts of Western New York. Tourist expenditures of local businesses, restaurants, bars, and stores can easily be over $300 per person for multi-night stays. Without the local lodging, these tourists would drive right past Lackawanna. The local and regional economies relies heavily on these guests to, quote, support local, unquote. We've never had a call for emergency services, mainly because we live on the property and know who is coming. I make the effort to have a conversation with all of them prior to arriving so that they know we live here. They all have already agreed to the house rules as posted on the Airbnb website that bans excessive noise and parties. During these conversations, I promote local economy. Also, our guest handbook, also lists places to see, places to eat, and things to do, all promoting local. We're also active members in the community. I help the neighbors down the street with snow plowing, snow blowing, 5 driveways, along with a sidewalk from Ridge, clear at the end of the block. Also, during the blizzard of Christmas 22, my neighbor Chuck Jaworski called early Christmas morning and asked if our units were open. They were because the guests had canceled due to the storm. He asked if there was any way we could house 5 people and 2 dogs that were sleeping on folding chairs in the senior center. They were dropped off with only the clothes on their backs. My wife and I fed them for 3 days. We had ham and turkey dinner on Christmas, chicken on day 2, and leftovers on day 3. The dogs even had ham and turkey until we borrowed dog food from the neighbor. On the last day, I got snowblower out and started clearing driveways. It broke down quickly, so the 3 guys that were staying with us got shovels and cleared our neighbor's drive and the disabled man's driveway next to him. This demonstrates the neighbor helping neighbor concept, as well as total strangers pitching in. These are typical guests that have stayed with us for the last 9 years. We should promote this and not ban Airbnbs. We also always make sure our property is taken care of. We have spent over $65,000 on property improvements over the last 5 years on a new roof, paint job, concrete sidewalks, parking lot repaving, windows, and redesign of the front of the building. We can only afford these improvements because the income of the short-term rentals. Without them, we would have to move. In closing, I feel the city should promote the short-term rental market, not tear it down. This would be a huge mistake.
Thank you, Mr. Grady. Next is, you have to forgive me if I can't read the writing or pronounce the names appropriately. Is it B-I-S-L or H-M-E?
BISHME.
You want to come forward?
Good evening.
Good evening.
My name is Bishmi Nelson. I live at 1398 Electric Avenue. We have a multi-unit, and in this we have 2 units operating as Airbnb, and the other 3 are long-term stays, including myself. I'm on site, and 2 other tenants. As was stated by the gentleman before me, because we have the Airbnb, we've invested a lot of money into this property. Just this last summer alone, we spent $30,000 on a new driveway that wraps around the house, amongst many other things. We wouldn't be able to do that without the income coming from the Airbnb. We're on site, as opposed to people who are investing from outside, we're actually local, and I believe all of the Airbnb guests here are local homeowners. We're not from outside, we're here, we're on site. People take really good care of our place, and it's in their interest to do so because they get rated, they get reviews. So it's in their interest to always leave the place tidy. No problem. I spoke with our neighbors are on board, they're fine with it. We haven't had any issues. And as was mentioned earlier in when you were talking about one of your agendas, checks and balances is a good thing. And we've met the Airbnb hosts, we've met and we've discussed that will be a good thing, and we're open to that, exploring that. The point is that we would like the city to explore other alternatives than to just banning Airbnb. Airbnb is not a threat to the city. Right now, we only have 1 hotel in the entire Lackawanna, and that's on Route 5. We've had people come here this summer from as far as England for bar exams who stayed at our place. It's a nice way to introduce people to the city of Lackawanna, right? And I'll let them, they'll just take it from here.
Thank you, Mr. Nelson.
You're welcome.
We have Amessa Nelson. Are you going to say the same things as your?
Good afternoon, good evening, honorable members of the council. My name is Anessa D. Nelson. I reside at 1398 Electric Avenue also, and I'm going to speak on a different perspective this evening. I'm here.
Could you speak up a little bit, please?
Yes, my voice is late. I'm here to speak on successfully incorporating Airbnb into our community in a way that makes it more housing friendly. As a homeowner and a current Airbnb host, and previously I was a staff analyst for the New York City Department of Housing Preservation and Development. In that capacity, I served as a liaison between the community and New York and the United States' largest housing agency in America. And New York City has always been promoting housing friendliness. So I just wanted to bring some of those perspectives to this community here that we may incorporate, and that this council can see that keeping Airbnb is actually beneficial to our community. We're a smaller community, but there's a huge amount of benefit if the council would reconsider. I understand that having a short-term rental in a community, it takes a lot of planning, clear regulation, and community engagement in order to have a balance and to have that balance be met with the needs of both short-term rental and permanent residents. Therefore, we, the host of Lackawanna Airbnb community, and I think I can speak on behalf of everyone, all the Airbnb community hosts, can you please raise your hands? We have kept some meetings, and we have came up with the idea of forming a volunteer committee with the objective of working with the council. And in doing so, we would like to work closely with the city government voluntarily so it doesn't impact anyone's budget, and with the council to manage the integration of Airbnb carefully while maintaining Lackawanna's growing community and housing-friendly framework. This collaboration aims at maximizing economic stability of homeowners while preserving permanent housing for long-term renters. The key is to find a balance between fostering tourism in conjunction with short-term lodging, in conjunction with regulation and ordinance. And that is what we are proposing to do, to work with you guys to find that balance and to figure things out and to make sure that Airbnb comes to the Lackawanna community in a positive way and stays and helps to build the community in a positive way. We are requesting that the council work with us and deeply consider incorporating some of the suggestions that I'm about to make into the community so that we are housing friendly at the same time, and we are also maintaining Airbnb within the community. We want to collaborate with you, of people of the council, by setting up community meetings. In us setting up this council here, this volunteer council, we are able to bridge the gap. We're able to communicate with the council and bring the council up to speed with what is going on. We understand that the council has a lot of things on their agenda and they may not be very versed with Airbnb and how Airbnb has regulated. We also understand that there's a stigma with Airbnb, and a lot of those things are true, but that has not been the experience in this Lackawanna community, and we want to make light of that. We would hold regular meetings at a time that is designated between the council and our committee, in which we would discuss any concerns that might have come up within the community. We also want to support, we also want to establish a affordable initiative for our community. And what does that mean? That means that we, as the hosts, we are looking forward to working with the government, and we are looking forward to implementing a tax, if possible, that we can be charged on our platform, and now the monies and the revenues that come in from those taxes can be used for a couple of things. One of those things that it can be used for is to create a housing fund. We can contribute a certain amount of revenue towards this housing fund, and in the form of taxes. It can also be used for whatever else the city council sees fit with respect to regulating Airbnb.
Excuse me, Ms. Nelson, how much longer do you think your presentation is going to last?
Roughly a minute or so, if I may request that additional time.
All right.
Thank you. We want to integrate Airbnb into the local businesses, which most of the hosts have already done so. We collaborate with the local restaurants. We generate a lot of revenue for those restaurants. We have what is known as guidebooks within our units, in which they highlight various different restaurants in the community, various different events that the guests can go to, and attractions, all bringing revenue into the Lackawanna community. So we come and we plead with the council today to just really consider us in your decision-making process and know and understand that this decision impacts a lot of individuals. Just on a personal note, since I relocated to the Lackawanna area, I'm a stay-at-home mom. And my sole revenue has been from the Airbnb. And I pride myself in being able to stay at home, raise my children, and still be able to generate some income to help my household. At one point in time, my husband was ill and he was out of work. And it was the Airbnb income that carried our household. And this supplementary income is needed in our community, especially with the economy going up and the cost of everything rising. So I plead with the council to just reconsider. We are willing to work with the council in any way possible, but we are asking the council to please do not ban Airbnb in Lackawanna.
Thank you, Ms. Nelson. Amy Blondell?
Good evening. My name is Amy Blundell. We own 46 Jackson. This is my son, Steven, who is holding his father's great aunt's picture. This is the woman who 4 generations ago lived in the house that we recently purchased from my mother-in-law's estate. This is my daughter, Selena, with a picture of our family. Her father is here, and our family has been raised in Bethlehem Park, where our property is. And so I would like to speak to you about the impact of this decision. It will make, hopefully, with some concern for our family. Thank you, first of all, to those of you who took the time to speak with us and meet with us. Really appreciate your time. And I just wanted to recap for those of you that I didn't have the pleasure of speaking with, some of my thoughts about this. Obviously, I'm a mother. My 3rd child is not here, but I'm also a union member, a lifelong Democrat, a local property owner, and an Airbnb host. We recently purchased a home. It's been our family for 4 generations from my mother-in-law's estate after she passed last year. It was across the block from where we began our family at 14 Beach Street, which is also a home that we're invested in the community. I hope that this purchase of 46 Jackson will enable us to ensure that our children have housing in a very uncertain economy. Their father would be here tonight, but he's at work with ASC Local 10 Shays, where we earn around $30 an hour, and we try to support our family of 3 children on these wages. Obviously, working class people like us need to be resourceful to protect our families in providing financial stability. Airbnb has given us a path to supplement income deficiencies during this time of shocking inflation. It helps us defray the costs of owning a home, pay taxes, meet rising insurance costs, and maintain our property in a way that would make our ancestors and future generations proud. Airbnb and other short-term rental platforms vet guests. It provides legal protection. It establishes rules and secures payment of rent, of state and local taxes. Airbnb hosts are ambassadors for our community to guests from all around the world. We bring in entrepreneurial spirit to Lackawanna in securing our own family income while bolstering the local economy by bringing outside dollars to local shops and restaurants. With earnings from Airbnb, we pay our taxes, we improve our properties, and we support local companies and people as we spend on home improvements, snow removal, yard maintenance, cleaning services, and the like. We work to help ourselves and uplift our community. We make decisions for self-reliance and self-sufficiency. We take responsibility for our livelihoods and for our properties. It seems that this board faces many pressures. A demanding budget, looming financial deficits are worrisome and puts our community in an unfortunate situation of needing outside funding. Surely, the board faces pressure from state and local party leaders to comply with Governor Hochul's plan to address the housing crisis. As she seeks to limit Airbnb as a measure to protect against increasing housing problems, an assumption is conveyed that a ban would be helpful. I urge you to reflect on the efficacy of policies that are designed for communities with different dynamics than we have in our financially stressed locale. They seem to scapegoat working local residents for a problem that was created by short-sighted federal and state policy. The low-income housing shortage is related to poverty, which is related to broken economies and neglected housing stocks. Divestment in real estate has wreaked havoc on local housing stock, rendering many properties unrecoverable, as evidenced by a local listing at 93 Beach Street, in which I forwarded to many of you, which is a complete embarrassment, as the local listing agent mocked the neighborhood that our entire financial investment as a family is depending on. And the houses down the street are literally falling into the ground, where they are being mocked online, saying that they are filled to the top with garbage and that they are giving gray hair, and it's an embarrassment to our local neighborhood. To me personally, when we have friends come, it's an embarrassment when they drive by and there's a garbage-filled house that's falling down and nothing's done about it. Additionally, many people don't have reliable income or the integrity to pay rent and often treat rental property recklessly. As a result, fewer property owners, especially individuals and families, are willing to take the risk and liabilities of renting to tenants who are not held accountable to meet their obligations and rectify damages. The state exacerbated the housing crisis when they expected landlords to absorb tremendous responsibility and losses in passing the eviction moratorium without any recourse for recovering losses. Tenants received aid checks while rents went unpaid. It is understandable how people who are left with ruined properties and thousands of dollars of unpaid rent would no longer be able to absorb more losses. Even under regular circumstances, the law does not help landlords protect their interests without huge legal costs. Who can afford to take that risk? Recently, we had 2 adults renting from us in a long-term situation. I had to bring my children there and tell them, I have to support them. I can't support you. You owe us $10,000 in rent. Do you know how they did? They left our house trashed, $20,000 of damage. Bottles of spit juice for me to clean up. There are cat feces everywhere in our house for me to clean up. I can't afford a lawyer. I had to ask them to leave.
Ms. Blondell, we need to stay on topic.
I'm
here.
sorry. So my point is that larger community management companies who do not live in our community can absorb those risks and those losses. Benderson just writes them off, but my family can't. If we can't utilize short-term rental platforms that have built-in protections, we might be forced to sell. The rich get richer and the working class gets poorer. Politicians, specifically those who claim to represent working people and families, need to embrace voters, residents, and workers like us who put everything we've got into our community, our families, our property, to build value for future generations. I realize we need state aid, but not at the expense of development that's already happening right here, right now, by the people who are bound to this community that we love. The local Airbnb owners in this room attract millions of dollars to our local economy. That translates to taxes paid, increased revenues for local restaurants, gas stations, and shops. The rent translates to purchases of new roofs and driveways, siding, new furnaces, electric, landscaping, and marketplace purchases, all keeping the money right here in our local economy. If you choose to obstruct short-term rentals, a vacuum will be created in lodging, This becomes a housing issue for families in transition, for people who have temporary housing crises, who are recovering from housewives, or more positively, who have families that want to welcome visitors that need affordable space to stay during their local stay.
Okay, Ms.
A three-star
Blondell,
room.
Ms. Blondell, I'm sorry.
I just have one more
How much
minute.
longer is this?
Just 1 minute, I promise, 1 minute. A three-star room at La Quinta Inn for $150 a night for twin beds does not meet the need of a family coming to stay to visit their other family in Lackawanna. Where does a family who suffered a fire stay for a month or two when a home is rebuilt? Where does a mom and her children stay after an issue of domestic violence forces her to flee from her home? Where do people stay to visit family, cheer on their home team, or build a new stadium? Currently, they find shelter in our short-term rentals. They spend money in Lackawanna. They leave Lackawanna knowing their local host, having enjoyed meals in our fine establishments that we recommend, and take the hospitality that they enjoyed all over the country, here, all over the country and the world. We've had guests from India, from Montana, and everywhere.
Ms. Blondell, thank you. I think your time is
Okay,
more
can I
than up.
just one more?
But no, we're good. You reside at 46 Jackson, is that correct?
We own 46 Jackson and.
Okay, you put that as your address here, and I just wanted to make it clear for the record. Is that your address?
No, that's not my address. I'm sorry, that was the
What
point of
is your
interest.
address?
I pointed 64 Oliver Place.
64 Oliver?
64 Oliver Place.
Where is that?
14075,
Where is that?
Hamburg, New York.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, and we thank you and your children for being here this evening.
Thank you.
Our last speaker is Jacob Minifield.
I'm back.
All right, thank you. For all of you here, although it's not an agenda topic, we understand the concerns, and we may be taking this issue up under tabled matters. And unfortunately, it's towards the end of the meeting, but we hope to be able to continue the dialogue after that. And we would ask you to get more information regarding that. All right, would you proceed?
Approval of the minutes of the regular meeting of November 4th, 2024.
Randall moves to adopt minutes regular meeting November 4th, 2024 is written.
Maflahe seconds.
Motion by Morano, second by Maflahe, to adopt minutes of the regular meeting of November 4th, 2024 as written. Maflahe?
Yes.
Anderson?
Yes.
Sirdike?
Yes.
Morano?
Yes.
Carried 4-0. Departmental reports 1 through 4.
Randall moves to receive and file department reports 1 through 4 inclusive.
Maflahe seconds.
Motion by Morano, second by Maflahe, to receive and file departmental reports 1 through 4. Maflahe?
Yes.
Anderson?
Yes.
Sirdike?
Yes.
Morano?
Yes.
Carried 4-0. Mayor Iafallo requests the City Council approve the resolution requesting the governor increase the 2025-2026 adopted state budget for additional state aid.
Randall moves to receive and file act on resolution.
Maflahe.
Motion by Morano, second by Anderson, to receive and file act on resolution. Maflahe?
Yes.
Anderson?
Yes.
Sirdike?
Yes.
Morano?
Yes.
Carried 4-0. A resolution requesting the governor and state legislature to commit to continuing the additional $50 million in unrestricted state aid in 2025-2026 state budget and beyond, and urging officials to recognize the need for a long-term plan that ensures consistent and predictable increases in financial support for local governments that keeps with the pace of inflation.
Randall moves to adopt resolution as written.
Anderson seconds.
Motion by Morano, second by Anderson, to adopt resolution as written. Maflahe?
Yes.
Anderson?
Yes.
Sirdike?
Yes.
Morano?
Yes.
Carried 4-0. Mayor Iafallo requests the City Council approve of the request to name the Lehigh soccer field at Lehigh Playground in honor of Mr. Abdul Salam K. Noman. Mr. Noman has been a successful coach, civic leader, and driving force in the development and growth of the Lackawanna Yemen Soccer Club.
Maflahe moves to receive and file and act on resolution.
Anderson second.
Motion by Maflahe, second by Anderson, to receive and file act on resolution. Maflahe?
Yes.
Anderson?
Yes.
Sirdike?
Yes.
Morano?
Yes.
Carried 4-0. A resolution naming the Lehigh soccer field the Abdussalam K. Noman Soccer Field, home of the Lackawanna Yemen Soccer Club.
Maflahe moves to adopt resolution as written.
Anderson second.
Motion by Maflahe, second by Anderson to adopt resolution as written. Maflahe?
Yes.
Anderson?
Yes.
Sirdike?
Yes.
Morano?
Yes.
Carried 4-0. City Attorney requests the City Council approve the following proposed ordinances. Request the City Council approve the ordinance amending Chapter 6, Section 66, 6G of the Municipal Code, Animals Running at Large Prohibited. Also under that category, request the City Council approve the ordinance amending Chapter 6, Section 66-7A of the Municipal Code, Animals, Loud and Disturbing Noises.
Are we taking them all together?
Yes. Taking them all together, right?
Oh, I thought we were gonna do in sections.
Yeah, you didn't read it all.
Oh, I was gonna have you vote on the first part and then do the ordinances.
Okay, we could do that. I move to receive and file act on ordinances amending chapter 66 through 6G and 66 -7A of the municipal code.
Second, Sirdike.
Motion by Morano, second by Sirdike, to receive and file act on ordinances amending chapter 66-6G and 66-7A of the municipal code. Maflahe?
Yes.
Anderson?
Yes.
Sirdike?
Yes.
Morano?
Yes.
Carried 4-0. The ordinances that go with these, an ordinance amending chapter 66-6G to be replaced by the owner of each dog must reside in the premises where the dog is licensed or harbored. Should the owner of the dog relocate within the city, the owner shall have 1 year to notify the city clerk of such address change. Part 2 of this is an ordinance amending chapter 6, section 66-7A to be replaced by no person, firm, company, or corporation shall keep, suffer, permit, or allow to be kept on the premises owned or occupied by such person, firm, company, or corporation any dog or dogs which create an unreasonably loud or disturbing noise such as repeated barking, howling, or whining, so as to be detrimental to the life, health, safety, or welfare of any individual, and will be subject to a fine as listed in section 66-13 of this code.
Morano moves to adopt ordinances as written.
Second, Sirdike.
Motion by Morano, second by Sirdike, to adopt ordinances written. Maflahe?
Yes.
Anderson?
Yes.
Sirdike?
Yes.
Morano?
Yes.
Carried 4-0. Let's see here. Request the City Council approve the ordinance amending Chapter 135 of the Municipal Code, Health and Sanitation, Section 135-18, Collection of Costs by City.
Morano moves to receive and file act on ordinance amending chapter 135-18 of the municipal code.
Second, Sirdike.
Motion by Morano, second by Sirdike, to receive and file act on ordinance amending Chapter 135-18 of the Municipal Code. Maflahe?
Yes.
Anderson?
Yes.
Sirdike?
Yes.
Morano?
Yes.
Carried 4-0. An ordinance amending chapter 135, section 135-18 as follows. In any case where the city completes property maintenance, including but not limited to cuts, mows, board ups, or removes brush, weeds, grass, any other vegetation or debris as provided for in Article 4, section 135-17, then in such case the property owner is recorded in the Office for the Division of Assessments for said address will be charged a sum of money for the city service.
Morano moves to adopt ordinances as written.
Second, Sirdike.
Motion by Morano, second by Sirdike, to adopt ordinances written. Maflahe?
Yes.
Anderson?
Yes.
Sirdike?
Yes.
Morano?
Yes.
Carried 4-0. Okay, so request the City Council approve the ordinance amending Chapter 12 of the Municipal Code, disposition of city-owned real estate, Section 12-7, procedures for the sale of other city-owned real property, subsection G and H. Do you want me to read the ordinance?
No, you don't have to read the ordinances, but go through each of the 7.5 introductory paragraph, 7.6,
Okay.
and we'll do just like you did
Like I
last
did,
time with the
okay.
ordinances.
Request the City Council approve the ordinance amending Chapter 12 of the Municipal Code, disposition of city-owned real estate, Section 12-8, procedures for the sale of public auction. Request the City Council approve the ordinance amending Chapter 12 of the Municipal Code, disposition of city-owned real estate, Section 12-9, approval of sale by council. request the city council approve the ordinance amending chapter 12 of the municipal code, disposition of city-owned real estate, section 12-10, city assessor to coordinate with other departments.
Morano moves to receive and file act on ordinances.
Maflahe seconds.
Motion by Morano, second by Maflahe, to receive and file act on ordinances. Maflahe?
Yes.
Anderson?
Yes.
Sirdike?
Yes.
Morano?
Yes.
Carried 4-0. Corresponding ordinances. An ordinance amending Chapter 12, Section 12-7G and H. Within 10 days of receipt, the city assessor shall forward all purchase offers to the Director of Development. After review, the Director of Development will present the City Council his recommendation regarding the purchase offer. Upon receipt by the Council of the offer to purchase with the Director of Development's recommendation, the Council will make a decision. An ordinance amending Chapter 12, Section 12-8, sales of property by public auction shall be conducted by the city assessor, determining the time and place. All sales ordered by the council shall be published in the official newspaper once a week before the date of the sale. The city assessor will report the best offer or highest bid to the Director of Development or the mayor in his absence. An ordinance amending Chapter 12, Section 12-9, the Director of Development will report the best offer or highest bid for a property to the council. After consideration, the council may approve the same, and the city and the purchaser will be bound by the terms thereof. Informal bids of a higher amount after the auction sale will not be recognized or considered. An ordinance amending Chapter 12, Section 12-10, the city assessor shall contact various city departments as to their need for municipal purposes for the property in question. All replies should be returned to the city assessor within 10 days of the request. The assessor will include a report to the Director of Development, and he will provide this report with the recommendation to the council.
Morano moves to receive and file act on ordinances amending chapters 12.7, 12.8, strike that 12-8, 12-9, 12-10 of the municipal code.
Maflahe seconds.
Motion by Morano, second by Maflahe, to receive and file act on ordinances amending chapters 12-7, 12-8, 12-9, and 12-10 of the municipal code. Maflahe?
Yes.
Anderson?
Yes.
Sirdike?
Yes.
Morano?
Yes.
Carried 4-0. Assistant Comptroller requests the City Council approve the standard workday reporting resolution for elected and appointed officials for Assistant City Attorney Jeffrey Marion.
Morano moves to approve standard workday report.
Motion by Morano, second by Anderson, to approve standard workday report. Maflahe?
Yes.
Anderson?
Yes.
Sirdike?
Yes.
Morano?
Yes.
Carried 4-0. Assistant Comptroller requests the City Council approve the ordinance adding a new revenue code for state aid-other and the police chief's request to add funds to the police department overtime budget code.
Morano moves to receive and file act on ordinance.
Anderson seconds.
Motion by Morano, second by Anderson, to receive and file act on ordinance. Maflahe?
Yes.
Anderson?
Yes.
Sirdike?
Yes.
Morano?
Yes.
Carried 4-0. An ordinance amending the 24-25 budget ordinance, adding a new revenue code, state aid other, increasing revenues by $780,610.23 received for temporary municipal assistance from New York State. Additionally, the police department has received $47,904.23 from the New York State Gun-Involved Violence Elimination Initiative and is recorded in the state aid-other budget code. The police chief would like the $47,904.23 moved to the police department overtime budget code.
Morano moves to adopt ordinance as written.
Anderson seconds.
Motion by Morano, second by Anderson, to adopt ordinance as written. Maflahe?
Yes.
Anderson?
Yes.
Sirdike?
Yes.
Morano?
Yes.
Carried 4-0. Director of Development and Marketing requests the City Council approve the resolution to enact the rezoning of each of the properties located on South Park, Electric Avenue, and Myrtle Avenue. Action was taken at the October 21st, 2024 council meeting to commence the rezoning procedure.
Morano moves to receive and file act on resolution.
Maflahe seconds.
Motion by Morano, second by Maflahe, to receive and file act on ordinance is written. Act on ordinance, sorry.
Act on resolution.
Oh, act on resolution. Maflahe?
Yes.
Anderson?
Yes.
Sirdike?
Yes.
Morano?
Yes.
Carried 4-0. A resolution to amend the zoning classification of the following parcels 3365 and 3375 South Park Avenue from open space to neighborhood commercial, 1864 Electric Avenue and 3365 South Park Rear, open space to mixed residential, 0 Electric Avenue, open space to mixed residential, 0 Myrtle Avenue, open space to mixed residential.
Morano moves to adopt resolution as written.
Maflahe seconds.
Motion by Morano, second by Maflahe to adopt resolution as written. Maflahe?
Yes.
Anderson?
Yes.
Sirdike?
Yes.
Morano?
Yes.
Carried 4-0. Communications from citizens. Ark J. Patrica Esquire requests the city council approve Commissioner of Deeds status for Shannon M. Sposito, an employee in his firm.
Morano moves to approve Commissioner of D's request.
Maflahe seconds.
Motion by Morano, second by Maflahe to approve Commissioner of Deeds request. Maflahe?
Yes.
Anderson?
Yes.
Sirdike?
Yes.
Morano?
Yes.
Carried 4-0.
As far as council members are concerned, anything regarding tabled items or old business?
Yes, sir. I'd like to make a motion under a tabled item to request a public hearing on Monday, December 16th.
Do you want a public hearing or something else?
No, a public hearing.
Or a work session?
Either or the same. Technically, a public hearing allows the public to comment. A work session, sometimes the council president has the ability to, it's to allow observers to observe, but they don't get to comment. So,
Yeah, it would be the intent of having the meeting in the first place, so
correct.
either one would be, you're saying either one would be. Is there a procedural difference for setting up a public hearing though?
Public hearing allows the
Publication-wise.
public to actually speak. A work session would, nobody would get to speak, and I know,
I know that.
yeah,
But for a public hearing, aren't there publication requirements different from just setting up a work session?
Yes.
yes.
So it's easier to just set up a work session, right?
Correct, with the caveat of that you'll allow people to speak 3 minutes or
Yeah, I
less.
think that's would be the whole purpose, but it's up to
Yeah.
you. You're making a motion.
Well, I was gonna make the motion to have the meeting on December 16th, and that would give plenty of time to notify everybody
Get in the paper.
in the paper.
Okay, is it for a public hearing or for a work session?
I'd like to have it for a public hearing.
Mr. Council President, if I may, there's a 10-day lead time on public notifications of that nature.
Right, that's why I'm gonna have it on December 16th.
So the legal notice is published every Friday, and you would need to have it submitted by the prior Wednesday. for
It'll
it to
go
be-
in this Wednesday.
So for the 16th, we have a ton of time. We have plenty of time.
Right.
So for example, if I may, if you were looking to hold a meeting on the 16th, you would want it to be in the legal notices of December 6th, which would mean your cutoff date is Wednesday, November 27th.
Okay, thank you, Chuck. But at what time and what is the nature of the public hearing?
10 days.
Regarding the prohibiting of transient or short-term rentals,
Airbnbs?
Airbnbs.
Is there a second?
I second the motion.
But will that give us time?
To
Well,
publish,
time to do what? You'll have the public hearing on the 16th,
Right.
and then I would assume whatever the outcome of the 16th would give, we would need time to have John and Chuck and possibly ourselves to fashion the appropriate language of the legislation depending on which
But is
way.
the public hearing are we afforded the vote that day? I wouldn't think so.
I don't think so. It depends on the outcome of the public hearing and what we decide individually as to what we'd like to see for our community. And then we'd have to have John and Chuck and whomever else draw the appropriate legislation.
Right, but basically what has to happen procedurally is, number one, tonight a motion has to be made to take the tabled item off the table and not to vote on it, but to have debate and to set the public hearing. And then a motion has to be made to make the public hearing. And then what would happen is public hearing would occur. And then the council considers all the comments made at the public hearing. And then at a later date, actually tonight, you have to retable it after we do the public hearing. We schedule the public hearing, then you have to retable the actual pending motion of the vote on Airbnbs on the current legislation that is before this council. And then later on, you have to go and remove it again from the table and either make amendments to the current legislation that is with that ordinance, or totally vote that down and then something can come back to the council for reconsideration. There's a process, but we have to follow the procedure.
Well, if there's new legislation, you or anyone can submit that as a new agenda item, right?
Correct.
So you don't need to address the tabled issues at all. But for convenience and to keep this moving quickly, Carl can make the motion to remove from the table and set the public hearing in the same motion, right?
No,
Yeah.
could I do it under old business then, so we don't have to take it off the table?
No, you did. In
So
my
it's old
reading of
business.
Robert's, it is old business, but you're still, the council is acting on something as a result of a pending question. Whatever's on the table is a pending question, and now you're doing an action towards that. So my suggestion is take it off the table, make the motion to have a public hearing in relation to the item that is now off the table. And then once that's voted on, somebody makes a motion then to put it back on the table, and then it sits there until after the public hearing.
Okay.
Any objection, Council President?
No, none.
Would that extend the 90 days?
Yeah, because you're taking it off the
Well,
table
that's
and it
yeah.
starts again today.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
good. So that's good too, yeah.
Yeah. So-
Ready?
No.
Oh.
Carl, you can make that motion.
Yes. I'd like to make a motion to have a public hearing on Monday, December 16th, 2024 at 5:30 PM regarding prohibiting transient or short-term rentals, Airbnbs.
And to take it off take that a table item off the table.
Take that off the table.
LeBlanc seconds.
Motion by Anderson, second by Maflahe, to hold a public hearing Monday, December 16th, 2024 at 5:30 PM regarding prohibiting transient and short-term rentals, and to remove this item, which is item number 6, and was presented at October 7th, 2024 meeting, off the table. Maflahe?
Yes.
Anderson?
Yes.
Sirdike?
Yes.
Morano?
Yes.
Carried 4-0. Now I put it back on.
Well, you don't,
Adjourn.
but one of the honorable council people have to make a motion and put it back on the table.
I would move that we table this matter pending further action.
Anderson.
Second.
Okay, motion by Morano, second by Anderson, to place item number 6 regarding transient or short-term rentals, back on the table. Maflahe?
Yes.
Anderson?
Yes.
Sirdike?
Yes.
Morano?
Yes.
Carried 4-0.
Anything else, either table items or old business, council? If not, Morano moves to adjourn.
LeBlanc seconds.
Motion by Morano, second by Maflahe, to adjourn meeting. Maflahe?
Yes.
Anderson?
Yes.
Sirdike?
Yes.
Morano?
Yes.
Carried 4-0.
Does everybody understand we've adjourned the matter for public hearing for the 16th at 5:30? And you're all welcome back if you want to make a presentation. It'll be a little different atmosphere, but everybody would be allowed to give their presentation and we can keep moving the matter forward.